What if I told you that everything you think you know about money is wrong? That the janitor down the street might be wealthier than your boss driving the Tesla? Or that the secret to financial success has nothing to do with being smart and everything to do with understanding human psychology? Today, I'm going to share the 15 most life-changing lessons from Morgan Housel's masterpiece, The Psychology of Money. And I promise, the final lesson will completely transform how you think about wealth forever. Let me start with a story that'll blow your mind. Ronald Reed was a janitor and gas station attendant who wore secondhand clothes and drove a beat-up car his entire life. When he died at 92, everyone expected him to leave behind maybe a few $1,000s. Instead, he left behind $8 million, $8 million, from a janitor's salary. How is that even possible? Well, that brings us to our first lesson, and it's going to set the stage for everything that follows. Lesson 1, no one is crazy. Here's the thing that most people don't understand about money decisions. When you see someone buying lottery tickets or panic selling their investments during a market crash, your first instinct might be to think they're being irrational or stupid. But here's what Housel discovered. What we personally experience makes up about 0.000001% of what's actually happening in the world, yet it makes up roughly 80% of how we think the world works. Think about this for a second. If you grew up during the Great Depression, watching your parents lose everything, you're going to have a completely different relationship with risk than someone who grew up during the dot-com boom. Neither person is crazy, they're just operating from different experiences. This insight alone will change how you judge financial decisions, including your own. But remember, we're building towards something much bigger here. Lesson 2, luck and risk are more powerful than we want to admit. Bill Gates attended Lakeside School, one of the only high schools in America that had a computer terminal in the 1960s. His best friend, Kent Evans, was just as smart and passionate about computers, but Kent died in a mountaineering accident before they could build their empire together. Was Gates successful because he was brilliant? Absolutely. But would he have become the richest man in the world if he'd been born in a different city or attended a different school? Probably not. The uncomfortable truth is that both luck and risk play enormous roles in every financial outcome. When you see someone succeed wildly, remember there might be invisible factors you can't see. When you see someone fail spectacularly, remember it might not be entirely their fault. This understanding will keep you humble in success and resilient in failure. And speaking of success and failure, this connects directly to our ultimate lesson about what really matters in building wealth. Lesson 3, getting wealthy and staying wealthy require opposite skills. Mike Tyson earned over $400 million during his boxing career. By 2003, he was $23 million in debt. Nicolas Cage burned through $150 million. The stories go on and on. Why do so many wealthy people lose everything? Because getting rich requires taking risks, being optimistic, and betting big. But staying rich requires humility, fear of losing money, and knowing when to stop taking risks. Now, Warren Buffett understood this perfectly. He's worth over $100 billion, but he's never taken the kinds of wild risks that create overnight fortunes. His secret? He hates losing money more than he loves making it. That's why he's been in the game for over 60 years while others flame out. Lesson 4, enough is a decision, not a number. Rajat Gupta was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but he risked everything for insider trading to make a few million more. John D. Rockefeller, when asked how much money is enough, supposedly replied, just a little bit more. The goalpost of enough keeps moving because we're always comparing ourselves to people who have more than us. But here's the liberating truth. You can decide what enough means for you right now. Maybe it's having 6 months of expenses saved. Maybe it's being able to retire at 60. Maybe it's never having to check your bank balance before buying groceries. When you define enough for yourself, you can start making decisions that actually move you toward contentment rather than just toward more. Lesson 5. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, but only if you can stick around long enough to benefit from it. Warren Buffett started investing at age 10. By 30, he had $1 million. By 59, he had $3.8 billion. Today, he's worth almost $100 billion. But here's the kicker. If he had started investing at 20 instead of 10, he'd be worth about 90% less than he is today. The magic isn't in finding the perfect investment or timing the market. The magic is in starting early and never stopping. But most people can't handle the boring middle part where nothing seems to be happening. They want the results without the wait. Lesson 6. Plan for plans, not going according to plan. Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. The same is true for financial plans. You can have the perfect budget, the ideal investment strategy, and a detailed retirement plan, but life has a way of throwing curveballs. That's why having an emergency fund isn't pessimistic. It's realistic. You should have 6 months to a year of living expenses saved not because you expect disaster, but because you expect the unexpected. When the next recession hits, When the housing market crashes, when your company downsizes, you want to be the person who can weather the storm rather than the person who has to sell their investments at the worst possible time. This flexibility becomes essential for achieving what our final lesson identifies as the true goal of money. Lesson 7. Be boring with your investments. Everyone wants to find the next Tesla or Bitcoin, but the most successful investors are often the most boring. 85% of professional money managers can't beat a simple index fund over 10 years. Let that sink in. People who manage money for a living, with teams of researchers and advanced degrees, can't beat just buying the whole market and holding it. The S&P 500 has returned about 11% annually over the past 50 years. That might not sound exciting, but a dollar invested in 1970 would be worth over $100 today. Sometimes the most boring strategy is the most profitable strategy, but you have to be able to stick with it, which brings us closer to our ultimate lesson. Lesson 8. The price of market returns is volatility, and you have to be willing to pay it. There's almost a 100% chance of making money if you invest in the stock market for 20 years, but that money doesn't come free. The price you pay isn't measured in fees or taxes, though those matter too. The real price is volatility, uncertainty, and sleepless nights when the market drops 20 or 30%. Most people want market returns without market volatility, but that's like wanting to be physically fit without ever exercising. The volatility isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. It's what creates the returns. When you understand this, market crashes become less scary and more like paying your dues for long-term wealth building. Lesson 9. You and me have different goals, different time horizons, and different risk tolerances. What works for a 25-year-old single person might be terrible advice for a 45-year-old with 3 kids and a mortgage. What makes sense for someone with steady employment might be disastrous for someone with variable income. This is why you can't just copy what successful investors do and expect the same results. Their situation isn't your situation. Their goals aren't your goals. Their stomach for risk isn't your stomach for risk. The best financial strategy isn't the one with the highest returns on paper. It's the one you can actually stick with given your unique circumstances. Lesson 10. Room for error is the most important part of any financial plan. Let's say you need your investments to grow at 7% annually to meet your retirement goals. What happens if they only grow at 5%? Or what if you lose your job for 6 months? Or what if you have a medical emergency? The best financial plans include a margin of safety. They assume things will go worse than expected. This isn't pessimism, it's realism. When you build room for error into your financial life, you can sleep at night knowing that even if things don't go perfectly, you'll still be okay. Lesson 11. Beware of seductive stories and focus on what actually happened. The financial media loves compelling narratives. They'll tell you exactly why the market went up or down on any given day, but most of these explanations are just stories we tell ourselves after the fact. The truth is that markets are complex systems influenced by millions of variables, most of which we can't predict or control. Instead of trying to predict what will happen based on compelling stories, focus on what has actually happened over long periods of time. Stocks have gone up more often than they've gone down. Economies have grown more often than they've shrunk. Innovation has solved more problems than it has created. These aren't exciting stories, but they're reliable patterns. Lesson 12. Less ego, more wealth. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the money you didn't spend on a fancy car. It's the restaurant meals you didn't buy. It's the clothes you didn't purchase. The most important wealth-building tool isn't your income, it's your savings rate. And your savings rate is entirely dependent on your ability to suppress your ego's desire to look successful. When you see someone driving an expensive car, you're not looking at their wealth. You're looking at what they chose to do with their wealth. True wealth is invisible. It's the growing bank account, the increasing investment portfolio, the expanding options for the future. This invisible wealth is what gives you the thing our final lesson reveals as the ultimate purpose of money. Lesson 13. The best investment is anything that helps you sleep better at night. Sometimes the mathematically optimal choice isn't the psychologically optimal choice, and that's okay. If keeping some money in a savings account earning 2% makes you feel secure, that's better than investing it all and losing sleep over every market fluctuation. The goal isn't to maximize returns at all costs. The goal is to build wealth in a way that allows you to live peacefully. Warren Buffett doesn't invest in tech startups or cryptocurrency, not because they can't generate high returns, but because he sleeps better at night with businesses he understands. Your peace of mind has value that can't be calculated on a spreadsheet. And this peace of mind is essential for achieving what our final lesson identifies as the true purpose of wealth. Lesson 14. Simplicity beats complexity almost every time. The investment industry makes money by convincing you that investing is complicated and that you need their help to navigate it. But the most successful investors often use the simplest strategies. Buy low-cost index funds, invest consistently, don't try to time the market, and wait. This isn't exciting. It won't make you feel smart at cocktail parties. But it works, and it works because it's sustainable. You can understand it, stick with it, and sleep well knowing your strategy makes sense. Complexity is the enemy of execution, and execution is everything in wealth building. And now, here's the lesson I've been building toward, the one that changes everything, the most powerful insight from the entire book. Lesson 15. The ultimate purpose of money is freedom. Not stuff, not status, not impressing others. Freedom. The freedom to say no to things you don't want to do. The freedom to say yes to opportunities that excite you. The freedom to spend time with people you care about. The freedom to wake up each morning and decide how to spend your day. This is why Ronald Reed, the janitor with $8 million, was actually wealthier than many people making 10 times his salary. He understood that wealth isn't about what you can buy, it's about what you don't have to do. Every dollar you save is a small piece of freedom. Every investment that grows is expanding your options. Every financial decision should be filtered through this simple question. Does this move me toward more freedom or less freedom? When you understand that freedom is the goal, everything else falls into place. You stop caring about impressing others with expensive purchases because you realize that true wealth is invisible. You start focusing on your savings rate instead of your income because you know that financial independence comes from spending less than you earn, not from earning more than you spend. You develop patience for long-term investing because you understand that compound interest is the most reliable path to freedom. You build emergency funds because you know that having options is more valuable than having things. You choose simplicity over complexity because freedom requires strategies you can actually maintain. Most importantly, you realize that the best time to start building this freedom is right now. Not when you get a raise, not when you pay off your student loans, not when you figure out the perfect investment strategy. Right now, with whatever money you have, however small it might be. Because here's the beautiful truth that most people never realize. You don't need to be rich to start building freedom. You just need to understand that every financial decision is either moving you toward freedom or away from it. And once you see money through this lens, you'll never see it the same way again. The janitor understood this. Warren Buffett understands this. And now you understand it too. Money is just a tool, but when used correctly, it's the most powerful tool for building the life you actually want. Not the life others expect you to want. Not the life social media tells you to want, the life you actually want. That's the real psychology of money. It's not about the money at all. It's about the freedom to live life on your own terms. And that freedom is available to anyone willing to think differently about wealth. The question is, are you ready to start building yours? Remember, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Your future free self is counting on the decisions you make right now. Don't let them down. This is just one piece of the bigger picture. Subscribe if you want to understand the full context and how to better protect yourself in uncertain times. And the video on screen takes this story one step further.